The village of Sundarpur was a place where time seemed to stand still. Nestled between lush green hills and a sparkling river, it was a haven of peace and simplicity. The air was always filled with the scent of blooming flowers, and the sound of children's laughter echoed through the narrow lanes. It was here, in this idyllic setting, that Arav and Ria's love story began. Arav and Ria had been inseparable since childhood. They were the kind of friends who could communicate with just a glance, who knew each other's thoughts before they were spoken. Arav, the son of the village's wealthiest merchant, was bold and ambitious, with a heart full of dreams. Ria, the daughter of a humble schoolteacher, was kind-hearted and wise beyond her years, with a smile that could light up the darkest of days. As they grew older, their friendship blossomed into something deeper. It started with stolen glances and shy smiles, then grew into long walks by the river and secret meetings under the old banyan tree. They dreamed of a future together, a future where they would build a school for the village children, where they would grow old together, hand in hand. "One day, I'll build the biggest school in Sundarpur," Arav declared one evening as they sat by the river, watching the sun dip below the horizon. "And I'll teach there," Ria replied, her eyes shining with hope. "We'll make sure every child in our village has the chance to dream big, just like us." Their love was pure and unwavering, but life had other plans. It started with a piece of land, a small, fertile plot that lay between Arav's and Ria's family properties. For generations, it had been a shared space, used by both families for grazing their cattle. But when Arav's father decided to expand his business and claimed the land as his own, tensions flared. Ria's father, a man of few words but deep principles, refused to back down. "That land belongs to both of us," he insisted. "You can't just take it because you have more money." The dispute escalated quickly, and soon the entire village was divided. Friends and neighbors took sides, and the once harmonious community was torn apart. Arav and Ria, caught in the middle, tried to stay neutral, but the pressure was too great. One fateful evening, as the sun set in a blaze of orange and red, Arav and Ria found themselves standing on opposite sides of the disputed land. "Why can't you just talk to your father?" Ria pleaded, her voice trembling. "This isn't worth losing us over." Arav, his pride wounded and his loyalty to his family clouding his judgment, snapped. "Maybe it's not about the land, Ria. Maybe it's about you always playing the victim. Your family has always been jealous of ours." The words hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and suffocating. Ria's eyes filled with tears, but she said nothing. She simply turned and walked away, leaving Arav standing alone in the fading light. That was the last time they spoke. Arav left Sundarpur soon after, determined to prove himself in the city. He worked tirelessly, building a successful business and amassing wealth. But no matter how much he achieved, the memory of Ria and their lost love haunted him. He tried to bury the pain under layers of ambition, but it always resurfaced, especially in the quiet moments when he was alone. Ria, on the other hand, stayed in the village. She took over her father's school and dedicated her life to teaching the village children. She organized free classes, started a library, and became a pillar of the community. But despite her many contributions, she felt a void in her heart, a void that only Arav could fill. Years passed, and the village of Sundarpur continued to thrive. But one stormy night, everything changed. Torrential rains lashed the hills, and the river swelled beyond its banks. By morning, the village was submerged, and panic gripped the survivors. Arav, who had returned to Sundarpur to visit his ailing mother, found himself trapped in the rising waters. As he clung to a tree, struggling to stay afloat, he saw a figure wading through the flood, pulling people to safety. It was Ria. Their eyes met, and for a moment, time stood still. Then, without a word, Ria reached out her hand. Arav hesitated, but the desperation in his heart overcame his pride. He took Ria's hand, and together they fought their way to safety. As the floodwaters receded, the village began the long process of rebuilding. Arav and Ria, now forced to work side by side, found themselves revisiting old memories and unresolved emotions. One evening, as they sat by the river, the same spot where they had once dreamed of their future, Arav broke the silence. "I'm sorry, Ria," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "For everything." Ria looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of pain and hope. "I'm sorry too," she replied. "I should have fought for us." Tears streamed down their faces as they embraced, letting go of years of pain and regret. In that moment, they realized that their love had never truly faded. It had only been buried under layers of pride and misunderstanding. Over the next few weeks, Arav and Ria worked together to rebuild the village. They organized relief efforts, distributed supplies, and provided comfort to those who had lost everything. As they worked, they began to rediscover the bond they had once shared. Flashbacks of their childhood filled their minds, the laughter, the dreams, the promises they had made to each other. They realized that the conflict that had torn them apart was trivial compared to the love they had shared. One night, as they sat under the stars, Ria turned to Arav and said, "Do you remember the school we wanted to build?" Arav smiled. "How could I forget? It was our dream." "Let's do it," Ria said, her eyes shining with determination. "Let's build that school, not just for us, but for the entire village." Arav nodded, his heart swelling with love and pride. "Together," he said, taking her hand. Months later, the school was completed, a beautiful, sprawling building that stood as a testament to the power of love and forgiveness. Arav and Ria stood hand in hand, watching as the village children ran through the halls, their laughter echoing through the air. As they looked at each other, they knew that their journey had been worth it. They had faced pain, loss, and heartbreak, but through it all, they had found their way back to each other. "I love you, Ria," Arav said, his voice filled with emotion. "I love you too, Arav," Ria replied, her eyes shining with tears of joy. And in that moment, they knew that their love was stronger than any obstacle, and that forgiveness had the power to heal even the deepest wounds. Years later, Arav and Ria stood on the balcony of their home, watching the sunset over the village they had helped rebuild. Their children played in the yard, their laughter filling the air. As they held each other close, they knew that their love story was far from over. It was a story of forgiveness, of second chances, and of the power of love to overcome even the greatest of challenges. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, they knew that their love would continue to shine, lighting up the world around them